Hi, I'm Celeste and welcome to Find Your Purple. Well, I wanted to let you know that I finished the Bible. It's the first time ever that I read the Bible from front to back. I started at the end of December with this read and just finished it at the end of May, so about 5 months. I read this one, the Daily Walk Bible, the Living Bible. It's set up in 365 days, and I used it as a structure, but obviously I got done in May, so I would read multiple days at one time if I had time or I felt like doing it. I did my highlighting. Sometimes I highlighted a lot, sometimes I didn't. I did a lot more highlighting in the New Testament than I did in the Old Testament, but I think this read through was, again, a good pass for me to have more of a structure. Prior to this, if you had said Philippians, Proverbs, or Psalms, I wouldn't have been able to even tell you which testament it was in, the old or the new. But now I can pretty much find the book easily. I now know what's in a book. I'm not quoting any verses or chapters, but I have really an understanding of how it all fits together now. So I had also, our church was reading the Bible this year, or encouraging it, and they encouraged a website called The Bible Project. It's free, thebibleproject.com. They have animated versions, about 6 to 8 minutes for each book in the Bible, the Old Testament and the New, and they give you a framework of what you're going to be reading in that Bible, and I really enjoyed that. And they also can tell you what you read on January 1, February 1, and all of that if you wanted some sort of framework. So I kind of did my variation, but I did this. Now, it's now June, and I'm going to start the Bible again. I'm going to do the same thing I did the last time, in that I'm going to read it all the way through without getting really deep into any particular book. But I'm using a different version. I'll be using the New International Version. And in case you wonder why this looks like a children's edition, it's because it is. It was my daughter's when she was about 10. I found it in the cabinet, and I asked her if I could go ahead and read it and make my notes in it. So I liked how it was organized, and I liked the size of the print, and I found an Audible version of a guy who reads this verbatim from the Bible, and I like to listen as I read. And so I'm going to go through it. I'm also going to be using this companion book. It's the Complete Guide of the Bible. My brother Mike gave it to me, and it has information about each of the books. So as I approach a book like Genesis, the first book that I'm reading right now, then there's several pages on Genesis, highlights of it, what it covers, and it helps understand that book a little more deeply, I guess. So I'm hoping by the end of December I will have gotten through this read. And again, my goal is not to be quoting verses at this point, but to understand, again, the structure of the Bible and how the Old Testament feeds into the New Testament. It was a very interesting read. I never thought I would read the Bible before. I even mentioned it at a women's group the other night, and I kind of got some laughs there. Obviously, we're not big on the Bible, but I'm glad I've read it. I'm glad I have had some aha moments. I think there's been surprises in it. There's been things that it filled in the blanks. I knew a lot about the Bible stories growing up. In Catholic faith, we didn't read the Bible at home. The catechism seemed to be more the structure we read, but we obviously had the epistles and the gospels at church. I didn't know what they were at the time. I now understand how the epistle is those letters that I mentioned the other day. The gospels are the life of Christ. So now it fills in a lot of the blanks that I had growing up, and I now see how things fit together more. So I suggest to anybody out there who is a Christian, if you haven't read the Bible, you really might want to read it once just for an overview. It does fill in gaps that you might have in your background. And You might also find, like I did, that first 6 to 8 weeks in October to December, when I tried reading it, I didn't like it. I thought it was boring. I didn't want to stay with it. I did it just out of sheer determination. But a shift did happen. And my sister and brother said it would. They said, just, you can't read the Bible with an open heart and not have it change you. And I do think that's what happened. So from October to December, I was reading it, not enjoying it. And then in December, it kicked in and things started making more sense. And that's why this time, as I read it, I think I'm going to get more out of it than I did the first time. As far as surprises in the Bible, I think some of the biggest were the Holy Spirit was never something that was big in my life. I didn't realize how important a role the Holy Spirit plays, especially in prayer. Satan, I didn't believe in Satan. I thought he was just kind of a mythological figure to keep you in line. And I do now believe that Satan is an entity, and that there are satanic powers out there that are trying to make things difficult for people at times. And I feel more comforted about life. If you're watching this channel and you're over 60s, which is kind of my whole point starting the channel, was about my aging. Aging accelerates. I'm finding it really is accelerating as I've gotten into my 60s. But on the other hand, since last year when I started the channel and I was focused totally on products, hair products and all of that, I was really more bummed out about aging. Now, with this journey I've been taking, that's taking me by surprise, going into the faith aspect of my life, I'm having more peace with my life. I think if there's one thing I've gotten this last 6 months, it's peace. And that's a good thing. So I will let you know. I can't say that everyone's seeing changes in me, which ideally they should be at some point in time. But I do feel at some level, with my prayer and reading the Bible every single morning, that there are changes happening within me. That the farmer plants the seeds, and under the ground the seed is starting to grow, and I hope at some point it's going to pop through the surface and bloom. But until then, I'll just keep on reading. As always, grab your cup of tea, sit back, and let's start sharing. And if you've been reading the Bible, let me know your experience with it. I'm really curious, because again, even 6 months ago, I would have never thought I'd read the Bible. So I'm totally surprised that it's become a part of my life. And I'm just curious how much it is a part of your life. Or if any of you have been tempted to read it. It's been around for a few thousand years, so you might want to give it a shot. Until next time, bye-bye.